Have you heard of Wordle? You probably have if you have been on the internet in the past 2 months. Wordle is a word game that has taken over the world, been bought by New York Times, and I've been playing it every morning for the past month, and it's fun. In addition to Wordle, we've been seeing all these other spin-offs of Wordle pop up. Dordle and Quordle and Mathler and Nerdle and Worldle. In addition to spin-offs, we've also been seeing remakes of Wordle to teach how it was made. So on a recent office hours session, I challenged myself to figure out how I would create Wordle in under an hour. The rules were simple. I couldn't build it before. I had to do it on the fly, but I could research my strategy so that I wasn't wasting everybody's time on the call. Can you recreate Wordle inside of Glide? Let's find out. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with a new project. And this will be Wordle. And is everybody here familiar with the game Wordle? This is how it's played. So we'll start off with a word like train. So this tells us there's a T, an A, an N, but they're not in that order. Let's try words. So there's an S. So I was on to a good idea with stain. Let's try that. Oh, I remember what it was. Got it. So the word is nasty. So every day, basically the game gives you a word. You can take 6 guesses in total. If you don't get it after that, you basically lost. You're trying to get it in the least amount of guesses possible. So if a letter is in the correct position, it will go green. If it's in the word but not in the correct position, it goes yellow. And then if it's not in the word altogether, it shows as gray. So this is what we're going to try and create. So one nuance to this is there is a word that Wordle gives you every day. So every day is a specific word. So you can only play it once per day. And then there's also a list of words that you can guess. So there's a specific list that you can actually guess from. So the first thing that I wanted to do was approach this was first, let's go ahead and find that list of valid words that we can use. So I did a Google search and I did find the updated list now that the New York Times has bought this game. So there's actually 2 separate lists that this person posted. So one is the allowed guesses. And so these are all the words that are not actual answers in the next 5 years or something. I'm going to go ahead and copy this list here. Let's go ahead and get this list into Glide. I'm going to create a new table. I think we'll have 2 tables, one for setting up the game for the actual word that they're trying to guess. And then this will also host the word list. And then we'll have another table for displaying everything how we want it. So I'm just going to call this allowed guesses. And I'm actually going to store all of this just in a single cell. So let me paste that in there. I'm going to clear out everything that is not a word. And then in addition, because this was separated out into 2 lists, I also need to grab the answers. So don't look at this list. These are the answers, but they're in alphabetical order. So you don't know what day they're going to be. So let me paste, see if I can get that in there as well. There we go. Let's paste that, remove. All right. So now we should have, this is all of the words that can be guessed. And let's turn this into a list. So I'm going to add a column to the right and we'll call this allowed guesses list. And I'm going to split the text on a return. So this basically, instead of having a table inside of Glide that has 12,000 rows in it with every word, now we're just using one row to create this list. And so it's a much more efficient way to manage this data. So let's start with actually thinking about starting the game. So this will be the game. And then let me just delete these 2 tables that we don't need anymore. All right. So we have a table here. We have the game. Let's make this a details view. And let's go ahead and add a button to start the game. So we'll call this new game. And essentially, whenever we do this, the first thing we want to do is pick out a word that'll be the word they're trying to guess. So we need a place to store that. And we're going to make this user specific because it's going to be specific for the user that's playing the game. So this will be word to guess. All right. So now whenever they press the button, we want to add a word from this list into that right there. So we'll need to have a next word that we'll put in the word guess. So I think what we'll do is let's first do array length. So this will be list length. So this tells us there's just under 13,000 words that we can choose from. Then let's get a random number. So if we go to number, maybe roll dice. Roll, yeah, we can do that. So roll seed, that'll be date and time. And then the sides will be the list length. So this will be the word to get. So basically what this will do is give us a random number based off however many words we have. And then what I'll do is add a column to the right and maybe slice array, word to get. And then we need to have a word to get plus 1. So add column, so word to get plus 1. That'll be a math column. So now this number will always be one more than this number. And so then we can, here, when we're slicing the array, this will return a single word. So this will be the random word. And then we'll need to convert that into a text element. So let's do joined list then, next word. And so now, whenever they press this button, basically what I want to do is grab the next word and then store that for them to guess long term. So whenever they press this button, let's make sure this is pointed. So this will be the game screen. So whenever they press new game, we're going to set the column values of word to guess. And that's going to be the next word. So I'll go ahead and press that. And then let's display text. Their word to guess is alas. And then if we press that again, it gives us another word. One thing that I have not considered is the fact that there's actually certain words that are supposed to be guessed. So we might want to actually have two separate lists. So if we did like possible words and then all possible guesses, I really think. Because right there, you don't want these really abstract words that nobody knows in there. So we have an allowed guesses list. Let's add a column to the right for allowed correct words. And then let's duplicate this. Allowed correct words list. Correct words. And then basically all of this needs to be pointed to that one. So this list needs to be edited and allowed correct words, length, random word from allowed correct words. And so now the button we press is going to be basically a more recognizable word. So yeah, these are all words that I know. So that's good. So this is going to be the word to guess. And let me put this in an action text. Word to guess. All right, so now we have the words they're trying to guess. And so now we need to give them the option to make guesses. So we'll need somewhere for them to insert their guess, and then we need to display if that's correct or not. So I think what I'll do is let's add a field, and they're going to be typing into one field at all times. So word, we'll call this guess word entry. And this is going to be user specific because this is going to be something that each user is going to be entering. And so then we'll have guess word entry. And then I think we're going to have a field for each guess. Yeah. So guess one, and we'll just start off with guess one. So we'll do a text entry field. And this is where they're going to be entering in their guess word. And whenever let's add another button for submit. And so they type in here, then they're going to press this button. And whenever they press this button, we're going to probably do multiple steps. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new action and just call this submit word. One thing I know we're going to do is set basically whatever word they've entered. Let's put it into their guess one. So guess word entry will go into guess one. And then the guess word entry, we're going to clear that out. So now I should be able to type into here something like train, submit the word. That clears that out. And then also now there's a guess inside of the guess one. So let me just add that here. Guess one train. Cool. The other thing I'm thinking about is they can only enter in a 5-letter word. So one way we can do that is to right here, add in the length of the word that they've typed. So text length, guess word length, guess word entry, do that, guess word length. So now whenever something's typed in here, we get the length right there. And so we only want to show this button if the guess word length equals 5. And so that will prevent them from submitting a word that's less than or greater than 5. And the other thing we can do here is make the max length 5. And so now they have a visual indicator that they have entered in 5 things, or they have to enter in 5 letters. Perfect. So let's clear out that guess. And then now they can enter in a word like brain, submit. And now we have that guess in there. All right, so now we have the ability for them to make a guess. So now we need to display to them that what letters were correct, what letters were incorrect. What I want to do is add a new table, and this is going to set up the ability for us to basically what we're doing right now is giving them a visual representation of if they've entered in what letters they've entered in correctly. So I'm going to call this, let's just call this guess displays. And this is going to be basically we're taking our row here. And so for each of our words, it's in a row, and we're going to make this go vertical so that we can display things in a list and break things out letter by letter. So there's going to be, since there's always 5 letters, we're just going to make 5 rows, and we'll call this row. This will be a number, and then we're going to start with 0 since we're working with lists, 2, 3, 4. And let's go ahead and break out or grab the correct word. So if we can do a single value and look up the first item in game and grab the word to guess. So this is the correct word. So that looks up, it's a single value. It looks up in this table, the correct word to guess. And then now I want to flip this horizontal word into be a vertical word and grab like the first letter here, the second letter, so on and so forth. So I think we need to turn it into a list first. So we'll say correct word listified. And so we'll split the text based off nothing. And then here we can grab, basically start splitting from that correct word list. And this will be the correct word letters. And it looks like my numbers got mixed up here for some reasons. Let me flip that back. All right, so now we have burnt and burnt. And so now we're going to do the exact same thing, but for the guess one. So I'm going to go ahead and start using a folder system just so this is easier to visualize. So now I want to duplicate this exact same thing for the guess one. So here, instead of grabbing word to guess, I'm going to grab their first guess, and I'm duplicating this. And so we'll call this one, move that over, and then duplicate this, and then grab, so this is splitting up guess one. And then same thing for the letters. So we'll duplicate that. And then from start, and then this is going to be that list. All right, so now we have correct word versus the guess one. And now we want to start determining if it's correct or not. One thing that might be useful once we get into displaying this thing, and sorry, I'm going back here, but whenever they type in a word, just for display purposes, I want to make sure everything's in all caps. So I'm actually going to go back here and add another column and add in a text field to uppercase our text. So this is going to be guess word uppercase and guess word entry. So what this will do is whenever we type in something, it's going to uppercase it. And so here, whenever we submit the word, instead of just putting their word entry into guess, let's go ahead and make sure we put in uppercase so that now whenever we display things, it will always be uppercase. So now if I do this and do brain, submit word, now that's in all caps. So we have that. And we might want to do the same thing for the correct word as well. So when we get into comparing letters, it's not going to be thrown off by casing. We'll say word to guess, uppercase, text, uppercase, word to guess. And then here, instead of grabbing the word to guess, we'll just grab word to guess, uppercase. Cool. Cool. So now let's start comparing things. So the first thing we want to know is the letter in the correct position. So we'll call this guess one correct. So if the guess one letters is correct word letters, then say true, else false. And this seems to match up. So we have the B that's correct, but everything else is not precisely correct. So next thing we want to know is if that letter is somewhere else in the word. In that case, we want to show that the orange color. In that case, maybe we can do something like, let's actually, instead of doing true, false, let's go ahead and start using the colors. So if we do green, so we'll do green for, maybe we'll just call this color, correct colors. And then else, if it's not in the word, is going to be the, do square again. I guess we'll do white, or maybe black. Depends on how we display this. I wish there was a gray. We'll just do white for now. Okay, so then the second case is the letter that we're currently looking at. Is that included in correct word? In that case, we want to do the orange. So I want to see if this letter is basically in this word. So is B matches that, R does not match this, but R is also over here later in the word. A is not in the word, I is not in the word, N is in the word, and it's right here. So these would be the colors that we want to display. And actually, I'm going to change it up one more time. So instead of doing these, let's do, because I'm thinking about how I'm going to actually display these colors, let's do green, and we're actually going to use text because there's a plugin that will allow us to convert these to backgrounds, white. So now we have the color, and then add to the right, there's this, where's that? Image from color plugin. Apologies. Add column to right, image from color. So then we can plug in the guess one color, and this will give us a background image for that color. So this will be the background for that guess. This will be guess one. We'll call this if then else color, like that. So now we've done all this work. So now we need to actually display this. So we're going to do this inside of an inline list, and I'm going to use tiles, and we're going to look at the guess display table. And the image I want to show is guess one background. So they got that right. The text I want to show is going to be the guess one letters. So here we have each of their letters. Let's move that to be on the tile here, make that letter as big as possible. And then let's make this a horizontal row, and then square up our tiles, and then show basically 4 tiles in a row. All right, so now we have this horizontal row that is basically showing our responses here. So we have the green, the orange, white, and but unfortunately, Glide only has the ability to show 4 letters like visually in a row. So this was one of those things that I cheated on because I wanted to see how the other Glide expert did this. So here's a fun thing. So I can do that's Control-Shift-I, and then I can inspect and start looking at the different elements in his app. And I noticed at the very top here, there's a div that doesn't have anything in it. And if I click on that and dive into that, I see this classic pre-span style, which is what you do to type CSS in the Glide. And then right here, I can actually see the exact CSS styling that he was doing inside of his app. And you can see here, he's targeting this app horizontal list. And so this is exactly the CSS that we need to be able to display 5 items in one row. Looking at this, I could probably figure this out, but it probably would have taken me like an hour to figure this out. So I'm going to cheat and grab what he did here. If I can click into it and copy that, we're going to do a rich text component. We're going to type in pre-span style. This allows us to insert CSS. And then now we have basically 5 tiles in a row. I noticed that this is not looking good. Based off, I think it's this linear gradient right here. So let me try that without that. Yeah, I think I like that better. So I'm just not going to do that linear gradient, just so I don't have to adjust that. Cool. So let's move that up to the top, remove that text there. And so now we have their first guess. And basically now we replicate everything we did for basically 5 more guesses, which is just a lot of busy work. So maybe let's do it for 1, just for time's sake. And then we'll talk about basically finishing the game if they get the correct answer. We'll close out there just to finish things off. So let's go and duplicate this. We'll do a guess 2 so that they can insert in another guess display. And now we basically need all of these columns, these 5 columns, duplicated for that guess number 2. So if I duplicate this, we'll call this guess 2, game, guess 2, move that over, duplicate guess 2 list, grab the guess 2 word. What do I do? Okay, there we go. Now let's go ahead and put in another word so that we have something there. So I'm going to type in another word here. And if I submit this word right now, it's going to insert this word into guess 1. So what I'll need to do is add in a condition here to say, do this if guess 1 is empty. And then we have another case where if guess 2 is empty, in this case, we want to set columns and put the word into guess 2. So this will be, remember, we want to do guess word uppercase. and then we'll clear out the guess word entry. So now if I were to guess, say, I know the B is correct. Maybe I wanted to try another word like boast to check some other letters. So now if I come up here and add in our guess 2, we can see that boast is there. And then if I come over here, now we can see boast there. All right, and then there's these last 2 columns I want to duplicate. Guess 2. So guess 2 letters, guess 2 letters, and then background, then else color. All right, so now we have the colors for, and the word split out everything we need for that second guess. And again, we're just duplicating what we did for guess 1 here. So now if I do this, we want to change this to guess 2 letters, guess 2 background. So now we have that other word there. Let's go ahead and I want to test that we have so far. I'm going to go ahead and publish this copy. I'll put this in the chat for you guys to play with along with me here. We'll see what this does for us now. All right. First, I need to turn off email requirements. Cool. So right off the bat, I see that these are showing when they should not be showing because they haven't guessed yet. So let me go ahead and add some visibility constraints to only show this if guess 1 is not empty, and show this if guess 2 is not empty. That should take care of that. And the guess word entry should also not show unless there is a word to guess. So word to guess is not empty. Refresh that. Probably take a second to update those 2 things. Oh, nice. So now we can start a new game. Our cheater word here is up here. So let me just go ahead and type in something. So we'll do like, what do we got in there? S. So the classic starting word, salad. So we see that S is in there, E is in there, but it's not. And then I can try another word like, maybe I want to try something like geese. And so now I have 3 words correct, and then I could try another one. So all that seems to be working like we want. And so now I want to add in the finishing phase. So if they get it correct. So in that case, that would be whenever they submit a word. So let's add something in here. I think the way I would do this is if the word to guess uppercase is the guess word uppercase, then not or. So basically, if the word matches the correct word, then I think what I would do is go to a new screen based off this data, and it'll just be like a great job, great work. But before we do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and clear out as well. Go ahead and clear out all of their stuff. Yeah, you can make this more fancy, but it's because I know that whenever we go to a new screen, there's going to be that back button. So if they go back without pressing a button on the screen, we can't clear everything out. So that gets a little hairy. So let me go ahead and clear the value on the word to guess. Clear the value here, clear value, clear. So we'll clear out everything, and then we're going to go to a new screen. Let's also show a notification. And do we say great work, success? And so now if I were to type in burnt here and press submit word, we now go to great. I meant to say great work, but I typed in great word because Wordle and such. We'll switch this over to details, delete all elements. We'll do rich text and just say, you got it. You got, and celebrate. And then we can do a button to start over, new game. And remember, all we have to do to start a new game is to set column values, is to define a word to guess. And that word to guess is going to be our next word. And so now I should be able to go here, type in new game. Oh, and I need to go back as well. So since there's 2 actions, we'll do new game. Set column values, word to guess is the next word, and then we'll do go back. And now we have a new word to guess, which is that one right there. The last thing I did not add, and we are getting to our time here, the last thing I'll show is what I did not add was checking to see if the word they entered is in the valid word list. And that's another important thing, because right now I can technically enter in 5 A's, and that's not okay. So we do have this allowed guesses list that we created at the top of the call or top of the presentation. So let's go ahead and add in a condition for that as well. So let's edit this. And before we get to that, we want to check to see if the guess word entry, and I think we'll need a lowercase version of this in addition to our uppercase. Add a column. This will be the guess word lowercase text. uppercase, lowercase. And this is because our definition list is all lowercase. Guess word entry, word. So before we do anything, we want to see if guess word lowercase is included in allowed correct words, or if we want to throw an error, is not included in, then we want to show notification not in word list. So now if we try A's, it says not in word list, but if we put in something like nasty, that lets it go through. And yeah, that's basically it. I did only show adding in 2 guesses because I wanted to respect time, and basically you would just duplicate what I did for guess 2 for guess 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's just a lot of tedious column creating inside of Glide. And then the last kind of conditional thing that you would want to add is if the guess 6 is not correct, you'd want to add in like a failure scenario where you say, sorry, you did not get the correct word. So yeah, let's go ahead and hide our cheater text here. So we'll just set this to hide. So that makes sure that table is not shown. And now we should be able to start new game. Always test everything. Clear out our guesses whenever we click on new game. And now we can start typing in things. Train. But anyways, that's how it's played. That's how I would make it. I'm not going to go any further right now. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I love Glide. It makes it so easy to create custom software and even create these super silly side projects like we did in this video. I have a growing collection of Glide videos that you can check out right here. From there, you can grab templates and copy for free for your own projects and see how I create other pieces of software inside of Glide. So go ahead and check out that playlist if you want to dive deeper into Glide. Thanks for watching this video and happy coding.